All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I am Latanya Moore, and I am here with Charmaine Stevens. I told you guys.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Okay, y'all know we always have to get set up.
And I am here with Charmaine.
Okay, so I told you guys that we were going to be coming back, and we were going to be talking about this whole thing as far as tax schemes that people use to avoid paying taxes. And so you guys know that I am not the foremost expert on this. And so I have to make sure that I bring people on that can help you understand what you need to do and what you don't need to do. So Charmaine, welcome.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Understand what you need to do and what you don't need to do. So Charmaine, welcome.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
So, okay, last time you and I talked about this. We had you on the show. I'm trying to, it's something, I'm getting some feedback. Okay, can you hear me, Charmaine? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I'm hearing that feedback also.
Okay, you may need to mute your Facebook feed.
Okay.
Technical difficulties, guys. Just hold on. Hey, Dale. Hey, Cedric. Thank you for joining. Good morning. Good morning. How about now, Charmaine?
That's a whole lot better.
Okay, awesome. So today, you guys know yesterday I talked to you guys a whole lot about getting paid under the table. And please like, share, comment. Charmaine is here. She's going to be answering questions for us live. So I'm really excited. But you know, we talked about yesterday about being paid under the table. There are always so many schemes every year that people employ so that they can either avoid paying taxes. Some people, unfortunately, are trying to do things like avoid paying child support or spousal support. They may want to just try to get some more money, and they just don't do this stuff the right way. So I wanted to bring Charmaine back because she is our tax professional. She does a lot with people and their personal income taxes. So I wanted to bring her on to talk about some of these issues. So thank you so much, Charmaine, for being with us today.
No problem. You're welcome. I'm actually honored to be back on the show again this morning.
Awesome. So I know I mentioned a list of things, and I know you and I have talked extensively about all the things that people do to just try to get out of paying paying income taxes, or sometimes they do this to try to avoid some other legal obligations. Tell us about some things that you've seen.
Actually, in the tax industry, I have seen so many different things where people try to negate or get themselves out of the way of paying their taxes. I've seen things from reporting little income, not reporting all of your income. I've seen things from erroneous deductions. I've just seen so many different things where people try to go in and do whatever they can to avoid paying their taxes. And as I said before when we were talking, it's only a matter of time before it comes back and get you. It may be 12 months, it may be 3 years, but they will find it and they'll come back. And the penalties and interest, as I always say, it's just not worth it.
Absolutely. And thank you guys so much for joining. We just had David and Kimberly join. Thank you guys so much for joining Charmaine and me this morning. This is a very, very interesting topic, but it's also something that is near and dear to the both of us because, again, we promote operating in integrity. So we want to help you guys. Just don't do it. You know, I always say that. Any of you that watch my live feed, or definitely any of you that work with me, I will tell you straight up if it's something that you should or should not do. And I'm very, very honest about that. And I know that Charmaine operates in the same manner. But thank you guys so much for joining us. Now, you mentioned something again, Charmaine, in our last time that we had you on. You were talking about all the different ways and explain to our viewers when you say interest and penalties. Help them understand how serious this is.
Just a typical situation. If you file a return, the return is not accurate, or there are deductions on there they're not supposed to be there, and if you've avoided, let's say you've avoided $5,000 in taxes that you actually will owe. By the time they catch up with that, you're going to be looking at interest. You're going to be looking at about 20% in penalties. And before you know it, that $5,000 will have easily doubled to around $9,000 to $10,000. So it's, as I say, it's not worth it to put things on your return that are not accurate. You're going to pay the money if they have to levy your job, if they have to, which is most of you would know about garnishment. If they have to take property, your bank accounts, literally, and I know this sounds far-fetched, but your firstborn, they're coming after everything except for that. So it's not worth it to put all of these things on your returns. The businesses that you don't have receipts for, if you put in things that you're going to school and you're really not, it's so much that I see people attempt to put on their return and it's not accurate. So just don't do it. You can always get a decent refund with just doing what you're supposed to do, operating with integrity. That's my number one goal here at Stevens Premium. We operate with integrity.
And I love the fact that you're saying that. And, you know, I told you that I think that's admirable because I know people that have said, thank you so much, Krista. I know people that have said, well, I'm going to get my taxes done over here with so-and-so because I need to get a lot of money back. Tell us about the reason why you really shouldn't do that.
Here's the thing. I know that there are a lot of people that will skip over me and go to other tax professionals just in my area alone, not to mention all over the country. But it's not the smart thing to do because granted, you may potentially get that money back. You may. But here's the thing. When you get that money back, now you got to worry about the next several years because not only will you owe that money back, you're also going to owe the penalties and the interest on it. And they may even go as far as taking what's called your earned income credit away from you. They could disallow that for up to 3 years, meaning that for 3 years, you won't get credit for earned income, which includes your children. So technically speaking, you're basically saying, hey, I'm going to go and get this money, but the next 3 years, I won't be able to claim my children or get a credit for them. So you have to ask yourself, you have to weigh the pros and cons to see, is it really worth it? And on top of that, now you always have this red light over your head when it comes to filing your taxes. You basically are red flagging yourself for the IRS to say, hey, let's question every single thing that's on this return. So as I say, it's just not worth it.
And you're actually opening yourself up to an audit as well. So let me ask you this, though, because you've talked a lot about earned income credit. How much is that earned income credit?
It varies pretty much from year to year. The last couple of years, it's been around the range of between $4,200 and $4,700, but that's the max. Now, however, that is based on your adjusted gross income. So basically, that means a person that makes typically from $14,000 up until about around $21,000, they'll see the bulk of them being able to get their earned income credit. The more you make, the less of that earned income credit you will receive.
So, and I wanted you to bring that up so that people really understand what we're talking about. If you happen to be in that lower income bracket, like what Charmaine is saying, you are risking the opportunity to have a almost $5,000 credit to get what? Extra $800 or $900 back, number one. Number two, you're also risking the chance that you cannot even file for that credit for a number of years because you decided to really go to the wrong person or scheme or whatever it is that you were trying to do just to get a few extra dollars on this particular year's tax return. And thank you for bringing that up. And I really want people to really understand, because yesterday on the show, again, we talked about being paid under the table. This goes right along with that. When you go to somebody that's not reputable, because you know that you're trying to get the extra dollars, because you know that they're going to fudge the numbers, or they're going to ask you about stuff that you know you should not even try to deduct on your taxes, you are running that same risk that we talked about yesterday. The risk of, and I know, like you were saying, levy. Let's just break it down. Levy means take. Levy means restrict access. So what did she say? Bank accounts. They can restrict access to your bank accounts. They can restrict access to, they can actually file a lien on your property. All of these things are things that you have to think about when you're trying to get those extra dollars. I mean, am I making this up, Charmaine?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. A lot of people don't understand how serious this is. They don't understand the magnitude of your earned income credit being disallowed or being taken away. They don't understand how when the IRS comes after you, they come after you with a force like you've never seen. They take everything and they won't stop until they get their money. And that's just, there's no other way around it.
And here's something I want everybody to understand as well. These things that we're talking about can even happen to people, unfortunately, that do everything right. That's why in our last interview with Charmaine, she talked about when you get that tax return back, you better look at it, you better read it, you better review it, because you also want to make sure that everything that you said is what that person put down. Because if you're not looking at it, they can still go in. This is why you deal with a reputable person, but they can still go in and put in things that weren't in there, especially if their fee is based on some type of percentage or the amount of money that you're getting back. What are some ways, Charmaine, that people can even guard against that? So let's say we're talking about the people that are trying to do everything right and they think that they're doing everything right. What are the areas on that tax return that they need to pay the most attention to?
I would say when you get your return, first of all, when you go into a tax professional and sit down with them, you are supposed to get paperwork. I cannot stress that. Yes, you are supposed to get paperwork and not 2 or 3 pages. You're supposed to get an entire packet, which includes your EIC worksheet, which is the earned income worksheet. It includes your 1040. It includes your authorization for them to electronically file your return. It includes every single deduction that's on there. So with all of that said, you look at that. Usually, if you flip over to your 1040, page 1 and 2, that's going to summarize every deduction, every credit that's been on that return, that's been placed on that return. So if you look on there and you see numbers where it says business loss, and it's in parentheses, and it's $15,000, $30,000, you've got to say, hey, wait a minute. Do I have a business? Did I give them receipts for this business? Am I going to be able to prove this? And you should be looking at this before you leave the office, because when you sign your name and walk out of that door, that return is gone to the IRS and you are responsible for it.
And I'm sorry to interject. And when what she's talking about, you have also, along with that person, certified that everything is true and correct to the best of your knowledge. That's why they can hold you accountable. Thank you so much, Tanya and Gay and Clinton for joining us. Please like, share, comment, ask your questions, because again, we're really serious about this whole thing, because and let me just stress this. And I know I've shared this with Charmaine, and there are other people that know about this. When I was saying earlier about, listen, you can do everything right. I was one of those people. I did everything right. I reached out to I kept up with things. I had my receipts. I made sure that everything was right. But there was an oversight by the tax professional that I was using at the time, not the wonderful, great, fabulous person that I use now. But at the time, I had a situation where there was an oversight. And because I didn't make it a point, even myself, this was years ago, but I didn't make it a point to really review the tax return. I even questioned the person more than once about the amount of the return, because it was an amount that I never received before. But I trusted that person because they had done my taxes. They had so-called helped me out. But 3 or 4 years later, I received a letter with a tax bill that was right at about $20,000. Then the person would no longer, they wouldn't call me, they wouldn't help me out of the situation. And so that's how I discovered the person that I'm working with now, because all these years ago, they helped me out of that situation. But not just that, they were able to educate me about the things that I should be doing on my own, which are some of the same things that Charmaine is saying today. We have to be vigilant. We have to make sure that we do not give other people control over our life.